What's good with y'all motherfuckers, you feel me? It's your boy Trapstar setting this joint. And it's my first reaction video, you feel me? So today we're gonna react to, proof that Flight reacts is the worst basketball player ever. Now if you know anything about Flight, bro, you know what his nickname is, bro. He's a walking L, bro. At least when it comes to this basketball shit. When it comes to real life, I mean, this thing's getting the bag and more. You know what I'm saying? I'm appreciative of this nigga's success. But let's see what's cracking with his basketball out though.
Oh yeah!
This is Flight Reacts, a fellow YouTuber who has gained a very impressive following over the past several years thanks to some funny moments, ignorant takes, and infamous rages, or better known as his reactions. However, as many of us know, you cannot stay relevant on YouTube for any extended period of time without adding some diversity to your content, and Flight has been successful at this as well. He plays video games, vlogs, hell, he's even been in a few relationships, but in my opinion, his most impactful content that he uploads are his 1v1s. These videos have become a staple in the community, not just because they generate more content for other creators, but also they are extremely entertaining. And recently, the frequency in which Flight has uploaded these 1v1s have gone up, so I have seen myself consuming way more Flight's content than I normally do. So much so that I believe I missed a few of them and just got caught up on Cash Nasty reacting to him, and while watching one of Cash's videos, this happened.
Flight been playing so many people, bro. You can't even get count on how many L's you got in a row, bro. But
wait, hold up for a second. You telling me no one is keeping track of this? Like, we all know Flight is bad, but no one actually knows how bad Flight is at basketball? The answer to that question is no, because people have lives. Luckily, I don't. So what I decided to do was watch every 1v1 that Flight has ever uploaded, record all the wins and losses, track all his miss and makes, calculate his field goal percentage, so we as a community all know how bad Flight is at basketball. Now, I grossly underestimated how daunting of a task this is, so while I do that, let me first give you a little bit more information on who Flight is as a ball player. Flight is right-hand dominant, and legend has it he stands roughly around 6'3" and weighs about $155. Now, you would assume that someone that tall would utilize their height to their advantage. No, Flight does not take advantage of his height.
Let me tell y'all something. I know y'all know some tall people that play basketball that don't know how to use their height, bro. You think he can use his height? Like, you think you've seen anybody worse at using their height than Flight, bro? Keep it a stack, because this nigga don't use no type of physical advantages for you
whatsoever. Defensively, when it comes to protecting the rim, he's horrible at that. Giving some type of effort on that side of the ball, especially when it comes to contesting shots, is very lackluster. And when it comes to staying on balance and trying to stay in front of his man, Flight struggles significantly in this aspect, so much so that a lot of times gets turned around. But if there is one glaring flaw that Flight has on the defensive end, it is his basketball IQ. Flight's defensive IQ is so low that even when his opponent is at a massive disadvantage, or even if they handicap themselves, they still find a way to win. Like the time where Cash had it.
Like, people don't say, like, dog, like, that nigga is retarded, fool. I think he's retarded. Because basically what you gotta do in this one-on-one is make him go left. All you gotta do is just make him go left. Why aren't you standing on the left side?
His left hand tied behind his back and still was able to beat Flight off the dribble going right. Or how about the time where Jessup was blindfolded, so instead of shooting shots since he couldn't see, he just drove to the basket and again still beat Flight. And then you had the game against Cheeseaholic, who is nearly a foot shorter than Flight and did nothing but drive to the basket going left. And in the middle of the game, Flight was told,
"Hey yo, he left-handed, yo, make him go right, yo."
Facts.
And then in the very next possession, still got beat going left to the basket. Honestly, if Flight just paid more attention to his matchup and understood that
some niggas got a brain for a reason, bro. It won't hurt them to use it from time to time. He's one of them niggas, bro.
The tendencies, he would win way more games than he does. But then you have the offensive side, and honestly, it may actually be worse. Again, Flight does not use his height to his advantage, so he never posts up. Instead, he opts in for a face-up game, which is a shame because creating a shot consistently is nearly impossible. When it comes to his handles, Flight dribbles the ball like an ambitious 8-year-old who just got done watching Curry do some
Let me ask you a question, bro. Who y'all think the biggest stick rider cashing LeBron and Curry and Steph, bro. I said Curry and Steph, Curry and Flight. Who has the biggest love for the nigga food?
Game dribble routines and then decided to go right outside without any practice and try to execute the same thing he saw from Curry. He has no left hand. When he attempts to do anything that's more complex than just dribbling between his legs, he has a hard time executing that unless he is stationary. And even when he goes right, as long as you keep pressure on him, he's bound to make a mistake. So again, because of these limitations, creating a shot for himself is a very daunting task. And that task becomes nearly impossible for Flight when you start to look at some of his shooting mechanics. Now, I'm not going to break down every single last thing that Flight does wrong because I don't want to make this video 30 minutes long. However, there are two things that I have to point out. The first one has to do with his footwork, which...
Fool, did you just see how tall the nigga that blocked him was, bro? Man, that's job wild, fool. Like, god damn, bro. But any of the short niggas that like height makes basketball easier, he's the perfect example of why height doesn't make basketball easier, fool. I'm not gonna hold you.
Which is atrocious. It's very obvious that Flight finds it very difficult to figure out which foot to gather off of. Because of this, any momentum that he would have is completely nullified, which forces him to shoot while he's on the run. Which brings us to one of his go-to moves, and that's his running hook. But even that looks extremely awkward because, again, his footwork is all off. And honestly, I believe Flight is completely aware of this, which is why his second go-to move is his hop step. But the one thing that is very interesting about Flight's hop step is that he's the only person I've ever seen in my life do a hop step and still doesn't face the basket, which basically kind of defeats the purpose of a hop step. And then the second thing that I have to...
Y'all think Flight has like an idea what type of like, how do you think his basketball brain works? So you think he thinks about the shot he wants to take, or he just does random shit and his hooper goes in? I know when you hoop and shit, like, you're not confident that every shot's gonna go in, but just watch this nigga fool. You gonna know what I mean.
To bring up is that Flight almost never follows through on his jump shot. For whatever reason, he keeps his elbow bent, which forces him to either A, overshoot it, or B, shoot a lot of air balls. If I tally this correctly, Flight has shot over 60 air balls in all of the games that he has played, which is roughly around an air ball a game. Now you're probably wondering, well, how many games has Flight uploaded on YouTube? Impressively enough, Flight has played nearly 50 1v1s. However, while I was doing my research, I decided to exclude a few games since they weren't fair matchups, and it basically kind of defeated the purpose of the whole video because it wasn't going to get me any closer to determining how bad Flight was at basketball. Those games are the 2 against Bone Collector, a game against DDG where in the middle of the game, Daryl not only decided to blindfold himself, but also only use one hand. This other game where Flight played against this young lady who looked like she never dribbled a basketball a day in her life. And then recently, Flight, for whatever reason, decided to upload a game against Little Terrio, who is 12 years old.
Now, how sorry does a nigga gotta be though to play these type of people, bruh? Like, if you take yourself seriously as a hooper, bruh, won't you actually try to play decent comp? Like, I'm not D1 or nothing, but dang, this nigga's playing obese little kids and little girls and talking about they college athletes, bro. This nigga keep... That's some shit, bro.
Which leaves us with 43 games. In those 43 games, Flight has a record of 9-34, which is kind of surprising because I couldn't believe that there were actually 9 people who lost to Flight. Those 9 games are LMU twice, Chino, Essie, Dub, Annoying TV, Miles Brown, Mopey, and David Spalmer. So basically, Flight beat...
Fool. Even his dubs feel like us to me, bro. Look at the niggas he beat, fool. Like, you play this much basketball and these are the type of niggas you could beat, fool. That job, wow, fool. Like, he playing sneaker plugs and motherfucking kids.
A girl, a 14-year-old boy, and 6 dudes who look like they haven't played basketball in over 5 years.
This nigga got like, let me guess, he got like 8 dubs. 8 dubs. How many years has he been doing? When was this shit released, bro? This shit was released about a year ago, bro. Hold on.
W. However, in an act to be transparent, that game only went to 5 points, and Annoying TV might actually be the worst ball player I've ever seen in my entire life. But hey, that is indeed Flight's best game. Now some of you all may be wondering, well, what's Flight's worst game? And that one's a little bit more trickier because Flight has had multiple outings where he went scoreless. Flight couldn't buy a basket in both of the games he faced Soul Illuminati, and in their first outing he shot 0 for 11 from the field and 0 from 6 from deep. He also went scoreless.
Let me ask you a question too. Y'all think getting trainers will make this nigga better fool? Like honestly, like the shit that he lacks, bro, I think it's something that he's born with, but I'm not even gonna hold you.
Against B. Lou, where he shot 0 for 14 from the field and 0 from 6 from behind the arc, which is a very close second because, in my opinion, the worst game that Flight has ever played was against Cheeseaholic. In that game, not only did he go scoreless, but he couldn't even attempt that many shots because how bad he was defensively. He only took 4 shot attempts because Cheeseaholic had the ball for practically the entire game. But wait, it gets worse because Flight was losing so bad in this 1v1 matchup that he forced Cheeseaholic to go to 15 points instead of the original agreement to 11 points, and still couldn't stop him and still couldn't get a...
Ooh, how you gonna go up to 15 and not score, bruh? No, that's job wild. This nigga's trash. Hey, yo, if y'all think he's trash, bruh, just comment it down below.
Enough shots up to even compete with Cheeseaholic. Again, going scoreless. And since we're talking shooting percentages, I guess it's only right to go ahead and give everybody what they've been waiting for, and that's Flight averages. Out of the 43 games that I researched, Flight attempted 790 shots, but only made 184 of them, giving him a field goal percentage of 23%, which is ridiculous. But what's even crazier is that out of those 790 shots, 444 of them were 3-point attempts, and out of those 444...
Well, how quickly you think an NBA player would get cut if he shot these percentages? I know he's not even playing pros or none of that. He's just playing regular people and shit. But how quickly, like, do you think a nigga would get cut if he played like this nigga fool?
3-pointers, Flight only made 78 of them, which means that he's only shooting 17% from behind the arc. But what's even more laughable is when you do the math and you realize that on average, Flight attempts 18 shots a game, 10 of them being 3-pointers, and only averages 6 points. Yes, it takes 18 shots for Flight to score.
This nigga cannot ball at all. He's not a hooper. He's not a baller. This nigga some shit. I'ma catch y'all later.